Can a bank really stand for something? Can it balance its ambition with its conscience? As not everything in life that counts can be counted. In the many places we call home, our purpose remains the same. To be here for people, here for progress, here for the long run, here for good.
Trying to get across Accra these days is next to impossible. People, cars, motorcycles, all crawling along. What really accounts for this, and what is the solution?
One of these days we will wake up and our city has grounded to a halt. You can't move anywhere. The whole place is choked. You know? And what are we doing to ourselves?
Urban transport specialist, Magnus Kwashi.
If you look at the way we are building our cities, we are always making space for cars. No places to walk. Even where the walkways are, people sit there and sell, people park their cars. It is in our traffic regulation, you know, it is an offense to park on a walkway. Can you imagine a school child, a young child going to school, 5 years, 6 years, the mother has to take it. They start at 4 a.m. because they have to get ready and get to school. Sometimes at 6 o'clock, you find school children in queue, Tema Station, waiting to get back home. Now that child, before GSS, is already fatigued. I mean, how can we do this to children? If you look at the emissions alone, you know, it causes nausea, dizziness, respiratory tract infections, and so on. People have all sorts of sicknesses and diseases. It's traffic.
Economic growth and rapid urbanization mean that Accra's population will double in the next 10 to 15 years. More serious still is the fact that the city's car population is set to increase fivefold on the same time frame.
That's 500% over a period of 10 to 15 years. Wow. Looking at what we have now as a country, if we don't do anything about it, our research suggests that a time will come some 10 years into our future, nobody will move on our streets.
Kojo entry of the urban transport project.
Currently, at least 70% of all our major road spaces are occupied. They are choked. If you take the main corridor coming from Adenta to Accra, coming from Tema to Accra, from Nungwa to Accra, Teshi, coming from Kaswa, Weja to Accra, everything we do, unfortunately, by the way we have planned our economy and our economic activities and everything, everybody goes to the city center.
Unlike Tema, which was properly planned, Accra has developed organically, growing from the center outwards. James Amu Godfred, Department of Urban Roads, picks up the story.
Accra, just like a city like London, started a kilometer from the post office. That's the British Accra. And it started expanding. What you have is that all the essential services, the banks, and all the other relevant government agencies are situated in the center. Everybody who has some business to do needs to come to the center every day.
Journeys that should take you 20 minutes are now taking you 2.5 hours to 3 hours at the least. And that's how big the problem is.
So let's build more roads.
If building more roads is the solution, then we'll not have the situation we have at Tetekwashi today. It used to be a single lane, it became a double lane, it became a dual carriage on each side with 3 lanes. Now we have an interchange and the traffic is worse at Tetekwashi. The theory has proven, therefore, that building roads necessarily or expanding roads does not deal with congestion.
James Amu Godfred sees it slightly differently.
It's all about demand and supply. The demand for road space has been increasing at a rate of about 10% annually, nationwide. But what is the supply? I don't think we are matching the demand very well.
To give urban roads its due, much has been done to improve and upgrade the city's major arterial roads. Liberation Road, Spintex Road, Ring Road, Insawam Road, Winneba Road, and the Beach Road. But that's where the network ends.
For example, those of us coming from the eastern part of the metropolis in Accra, between the Spintex Road and the Beach Road, is a huge mass of land, but it's not permeable, in the sense that you can't go through with a good road. If you want to move from Cantonment's area to Leicester Hospital, which is around here, you will need to go around on the Gifford Road, get to Akwafo Circle, use the Liberation Road, come onto the Spintex Road, before eventually you can come to Leicester Hospital. And this is actually a distance of about 2.5 to 3 kilometers.
So in fact, it's not about widening roads, but building new roads.
Exactly. It's increasing the supply and giving alternatives for people to use. It's all about choices. Drivers should be able to make a choice. What is happening now is that we are all behaving like public transport users. We go on specific routes on a daily basis. And worst of all, we go at the same time.
Which brings us to the issue at the heart of the matter, public transport. 80% of all commuters in the city rely on public transport. And here in Ghana, the transport system is almost entirely in the hands of the private sector, trotros and taxis. They are loosely organized into unions and entirely self-regulated. They're a law unto themselves. Terminals are bedlam and shuttles non-existent. Trotros move only when full. We spoke to Alhaji Tete, chairman of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union.
The fact is, you can't get a private vehicle owner, private commercial owner, saying that if my car is not full, he should take to the road. That is to his a disadvantage.
So you see shuttling as meaning moving when a bus is not full?
Yes, because if you schedule the movement of the vehicles, then it means that whether it is full or not, it has to take off when the time comes.
But that's what happens in modern cities.
You are talking about modern cities. When we went to London, TfL, Transport for London, they will tell you that it is government which subsidizes that fuel to enable them to operate. In Ghana, the government is taking the money from you. So how do you do that job? How do you do that job? When you want to stop at Mokola here, whether there's bus stop or not, we stop for you.
But people can't just get down wherever they like.
Everywhere in the world, there are points to get down. But what I'm saying is that when there are these points, it benefits only a few. And the majority of the people suffer.
Few would agree with this logic. Trotros stopping wherever they please contributes massively to the chaos. Add to the mix the high numbers of unroadworthy vehicles, unlicensed drivers, and total indiscipline, and there is anarchy on our roads.
Sometimes you find people driving on the shoulders, people jump red light, motorcyclists on walkways. There's so much indiscipline. We have a lot of regulations, just like the other cities, New York, Washington. So somebody is not checking something. Somebody is not doing something. Who is in charge?
The MTT. But the buck doesn't stop here, says its commander, ACP Awuni.
The buck stops with whoever funds the police MTTU. The police MTTU has no budget to run the area. Somebody else gives the budget. Somebody else gives the logistics. So that person must be responsible for whatever lapses are in the MTU. If I need breathalyzer, common breathalyzer, I have to write to police headquarters. And then it takes me 1 year. Nobody answers me that you have written for a breathalyzer. The buck must stop at the police headquarters, not at the MTU.
To police the city's traffic, the MTTU requires a staff contingent of 5,400 people. It has just 300.
So you were seriously overstretched?
I mean, woefully overstretched. The entire police service had two tow trucks, rickety ones. The one that has been allotted to the MTU is broken down for the last 6 months.
And as far as corruption in the ranks is concerned, ACP Awuni doesn't pull his punches.
No, but that is the type of policeman we have produced. Every country deserves the police service that it has. Invest in your police service and you will get better policemen. You are refusing to train your policemen. You are refusing to equip them and you want them to perform like Scotland Yard policemen. You are joking.
And so the chaos continues. And it's not just the trotros to blame. Let's examine the facts. Trotros and buses carry 70% of all commuters and occupy 30% of road space, while private vehicles and taxis, which convey just 13% of commuters, occupies 40% of road space. it makes no sense at all.
There have been some attempts at providing mass transport, and all we have done is to buy buses and put them in the congestion. So they are not patronized, but they are not the problem in terms of the congestion. The congestion is caused by those more in the upper class, the A and B, who can afford to buy vehicles.
And the way to go is to look at an efficient public transport system to be able to move this. And I think it is only fair that as cities or as government, we are able to create dedicated space to move the huge traveling public.
From all the observations around the world, we realize the best way to deal with this congestion problem is to let people travel in masses. There are many forms of mass transportation. We talk about rail, we talk about the monorail, the underground, and all of that. But looking at our resources, we realize that the best thing to do is to travel using buses, yet emulating the characteristics of the rail.
Enter the Bus Rapid Transit System, otherwise known as the BRT. Costing $95 million, raised as a loan from the donors, it's an ambitious project that will change the face of Accra. In its first phase, dedicated exclusive rights-of-way bus lanes on the main arterial route will run from Kasoa through Malam and Kaneshi to the central business district.
So it works just like the underground. Nobody stops it. It on the surface is moving and has priority. Special space, where the buses ply. So no other traffic is allowed in this space. Take, for example, we've started work on Graphic Road all the way to Kasoa. The right-of-way is there. We have 3 lanes all the way from Winneba Road, all those places.
1 lane in each direction is dedicated to specialized buses carrying 100 passengers each, which will stop at designated bus stops and terminals according to strict schedules.
Every minute in the peak hour, there will be a bus. And so journeys that people are making now with 2 hours, let's say even from Kasoa, they can do so maybe like 35 minutes or 40 minutes.
It's a public-private partnership in which government regulates the system and supplies the infrastructure, and the private sector, mainly trotro owners, will be helped by government to purchase and operate the buses.
We are not expecting government to buy buses. We are expecting government, to facilitate the operators to own the system. They have been running the business. They must feed their children. They must feed their families. And so we do not undertake under the system to take away the business from them. All we are doing is to transform them and make them even better.
By rights, it's a win-win situation, but progress is hopelessly slow. The BRT was meant to be operational by 2012, but construction is over 2 years behind schedule. Magnus Kwashi is a frustrated man.
We are always talking here in Ghana. We don't do anything. You see, we need government, political will, that, look, this is what we must do, and we get everybody on board.
Easier said than done, says Kojo Entry.
Initially, we realized that for a society as we have, and for the fact that there's a lot of disorganization and unregulation and all the anarchy in the public transport system, we needed to move slowly. We needed to engage with our stakeholders, and we have many stakeholders.
The biggest stakeholder are the private operators, and they oppose it.
They opposed it from the beginning, and so we have to spend a bit of time, actually, something close to 2 years, engaging with the private sector, the private operators, to get them to understand that this is not an action to kick them off the market, but it is something that they have to own.
Alhaji Tete of the GPRTU is cynical.
The idea was to push us out, because the people who came to announce the BRT to us for the first time said, your buses or your vehicles are rickety, you are bringing in buses, and we want those buses to replace your buses. So the next question was, what is the alternative for the people you are pushing out? And there was no alternative.
That's why you opposed it?
Yes, that's why we oppose it, and we are opposing it up to today.
How can they hold a city of like 4 million to a ransom? This system is going to improve their lot. It is not going to make them worse off. It will improve their lot. And so we need to continue the dialogue and get it in. You see, public transport is not just about operators. The people who are traveling, also Ghanaians and human beings, deserve a very good transport system.
I don't feel fine.
Negotiations are ongoing and some progress has been made, but Alhaji Tete seems to have little faith in the system.
We were in Nigeria about this BRT. And Nigeria, they have done it because their country is rich. And what they did was, during the peak hours, they released more vehicles. And during the, maybe they go to work by 8 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, they withdraw some. No matter how many buses you withdraw, at the end of the month, you will go and pay installment for all. So if you have 10 buses and only 5 work, you are going to pay installment for 10 buses. Even if Lagos, which population is bigger than the whole Ghana, is practicing this, what do you think will happen to our buses which are going to run from Kaswa to here? Their income will not be sufficient. That's why I'm telling you, they will fold up. Who will not fold up? Who will go and buy their buses and operate?
Miscommunication and misunderstanding are clearly still clouding the issue, and the battle is by no means won. Look then at bureaucracy. The project is being orchestrated by no less than 3 different ministries.
For example, in Accra, the AMA is in charge of the Accra metropolitan area for the day-to-day administration and everything. And they have a roads unit that urban roads deal with on a daily basis. Of course, you talk about the Ministry of Transport. They also have some responsibility towards transportation in terms of what vehicles are used and other functions. Then the Ministry of Roads and Highways, under which we fall. We all have separate responsibilities under the collective transportation mode.
It's an interesting challenge, but typically I tell you, if we understand what we are doing as a people, this issue shouldn't arise. Because today we are talking about integrated development. But sometimes we have very strong technocratic ministries, okay? And sometimes we have individuals who do what we call theft protection, and so you have a situation where people from different disciplines and backgrounds who need to come together, and to forge a common goal. You find people protecting what they have, and so it is costing the city so much. It is costing our country so much. Now, what it happens is that sometimes we have to repeat certain things. Something that is being done somewhere has to be done somewhere. People are doing the same things that others are doing, and it's complete waste of money.
It's a story that repeats itself over and over again. Yet amidst all the infighting and petty bureaucracy, the wheels of change are turning, albeit slowly. James Amu Godfred of Urban Roads.
We have done a lot of work, but there's still a lot more to do. And we are aware of the challenge, and we are addressing it gradually, even though not at the pace that we all desire.
Take, for example, the city's bus terminals and lorry parks, typically dirty, disorganized, and notoriously chaotic. Alhaji Abbas of the AMU says change is on its way.
We're doing quite a lot. The Achimota terminal is one of the most modern terminals that we have. And then when that terminal was built, AMA went out and signed a contract with a private sector firm in the management of that terminal. You go there, it's very neat. The vehicles park in
Is it being used properly?
It's being used. It's just that now we're using less about 50% of the capacity. The intention is to be able to get a lot of the long distance vehicles that go towards the north, it's a Kumasi and beyond. That come towards the new plant station area. We want to relocate them to the Achimota terminal. So if you look at STC, Metro Mass, etc., once they're coming from their long distance trips, they go to the Achimota terminal so that passengers can alight. And there are taxi ranks there that will pick the passenger to the next destination. It's quite safe, and that is how a modern terminal should be.
Another 2 similar terminals are on the drawing board, one at CMB in Accra Central and the other at Kaneshie.
Another thing that is coming on board in Accra is what we call the area-wide traffic signalization system. Again, that also falls in line with the public transport improvement. And this area-wide traffic signalization system is to develop, make sure that all our traffic lights can communicate to each other. Presently, the traffic lights don't communicate to each other. Whilst one is singing Do Re Mi, the other is singing Latiso. But we want them to communicate.
To sing Do Re Mi.
To sing Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti. So we're developing a central control system. And that central control system, when you sit there, at the push of a button on your laptop or your computer, you can see the general congestion on corridors in Accra, what is happening on the traffic flow, So through the computer, you can change your signal timings and then improve traffic flows. And that, hopefully, that project too should be starting pretty soon.
There's relief coming for Spintex Road too.
Now, instead of bringing Spintex Road into Tetakwashi, we are doing a traffic realignment or realignment of the road behind Shangri-La Hotel. And that means that we have to construct a bridge over the railway line or a bridge for the railway across the road. So that bridge is almost about completed. Once that is completed, then that road, the Spintex Road, will be turned behind Shangri-La Hotel, then to connect onto the airport bypass. Now the airport bypass is going to be dualized, right from the Polo Court roundabout all the way to the Elwak traffic light.
Here it meets Gifford Road, which is also being turned into a dual highway. Construction is about to begin on a whole network of roads, which will help liberate the congested Eastern Corridor. Few can wait.
This is the Gifford Road again. You have your 37 here, the motorway, and the beach road. What we have done is literally try to draw lines and make it as permeable as possible. So now you can move through the Bema Camp. It's called Bema Camp Road 1 or Bema Camp Road. You can move through the Bema Camp and get beyond the Bema Camp to Teshi area. Then you can go as far as the Nungwa area. So this has made this area now very permeable. So you can have movement within. You don't have to go round the periphery, which makes your distances long and increases the congestion. As we speak, we realize that Accra is so congested that we have planned an outer ring road, which will, in fact, is at the border of the Greater Accra metropolitan area. It's crossing about 3 or 4 assemblies. That is from Kaswa up to Pram Pram. This road is very busy and heavily congested. What we are seeking to do is that when you are coming from Cape Coast and your destination is the eastern part of the Greater Accra, you don't necessarily have to go through the center.
Correct.
What we seek to do is to create a high-speed facility which will take you off from somewhere at Kaswa through the boundary of the Greater Accra metropolitan area. That's through Medie, through Ayimensa, and eventually getting you somewhere to Pram Pram.
Right.
And this will be a major bypass from east to west. This is something that ideally must come on board within the next 5 years.
Do we have people who can actually do this?
We have the skills to be able to do this.
This is something that is not rocket science. It is not rocket science. We have the knowledge, we can deploy it. And I would wish to see a city where, particularly for us as technocrats, whether we are in private sector, whether we are in public sector, we have gone to college, to use our knowledge and skills to improve the quality of life of the people. So we can sit together and build the cities. Nobody will do it for us. I'm telling you, we as technocrats, we need to rethink, seriously rethink what we do as individuals, and come together, and make it happen in this city.
Can a bank really stand for something? Can it balance its ambition with its conscience? As not everything in life that counts can be counted. In the many places we call home, our purpose remains the same: to be here for people, here for progress, here for the long run, here for good.